What's up, Guardians? I'm BRAVExHERO and welcome back to the channel. And today we're talking about some of the best tips and tricks that you can utilize to help you go flawless in Trials of Osiris. If you're a Guardian out there trying to get your hands on the Igneous Hammer, the new 120 RPM hand cannon for the energy slot, or trying to get your hands on the Messenger, the new Pulse Rifle, then this is a video for you. But first, let me get something out of the way. If you're the type of Guardian that says, I'm never gonna get flawless, I need someone to carry me to get flawless, then this video isn't for you. This video is for those Guardians out there that are willing to put in the time to go flawless. If you listen to these tips in this video and you implement them in your game, I guarantee you will at least get 5 to 7 wins. You may not get a full flawless victory, but you will get some of these weapons. You may not get the adept version, but you will get these weapons. But like always, if you're new to the channel, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 50,000 subscribers. And before you hit the like button, a lot of people say, oh, he's asking for likes. Guys, if you like this video, you really feel like this video helped you out, then hit that like button. Now let's get into the tips. Now, what's the purpose behind this video? The purpose behind this video is to help you get loot. If that be armor, if that be weapons, whatever it may be, this video is gonna help you get that. Now, not all Trials loot is locked behind a flawless chest. In the current Trials system, you get loot at 3 wins, 5 wins, 7 wins, and now we have a bounty, a Trials bounty. So if you're looking to get any sort of loot, you don't even have to go flawless to get the loot. You just have to get some wins, and not even that, sometimes you just have to complete a bounty. Now let's get into the first section of this video, which is gonna be the pre-match. After you acquire your card and you're about to run into Trials, head over to the website destinytrialsreport.com and identify the map of the week. That map is gonna be the map for the entire weekend. After you see what map is gonna be for that weekend, head over to a private match and load that map up. What you're going to be doing is learning the entire map, walking around the map, looking for good spots. Also, at that same time, you want to start learning callouts. Some of the best ways to figure out callouts is going to be looking underneath your radar when you're walking around the map. Right then and there, underneath your radar, you can see what locations you're at, and you can utilize those as callouts to your teammates. Now, while you're in a private match, start thinking of game plans. Have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And the reason for that is because if a team reacts differently to your loadouts, maybe they decide to go a different angle, you have a plan to counter that team. You want to be able to utilize each plan to lock a team down. Now that you've identified the map and you've already set up your plans with your teammates, this is a great time to build your loadout. Depending on the map you are playing is the loadout you're going to want to go with. Are there going to be long sight lines? Do you need a sniper? Do you need a pulse rifle? Is it up close and personal like the map anomaly? Am I going to need a shotgun? This is when you start building your loadout for Trials. Now, when it comes to building your loadout for Trials, there are 2 things I want you to keep in mind. Number 1, if you lose an engagement or you lose a round, that does not immediately call for a loadout change. Continue to use your loadout. Now, there is a difference between changing your loadout because something's not working and calling an audible. Maybe you notice something. Maybe these players are standing still in a certain location and you want to switch your shotgun to a sniper. That's different. But if you lose and you think your loadout is causing you to lose, don't change it just yet. Wait till the end of the match and then make adjustments. Now, moving into number 2, Trials isn't an experimentation game mode. You need to go in with the mindset that you're gonna fight with your best loadout. If you're someone deciding to experiment and saying, hey, I'm gonna end up sniping. I never snipe, but this is the time I'm gonna snipe. You're only gonna fail and frustrate your teammates. Use the loadout you're proficient with. Now, before I get into some pre-game tips, I will say if you're still looking for some of the best callouts or some of the best loadouts to utilize, you can head over to twitch.com and find any streamer doing carries and see the loadouts they're utilizing and the callouts they're using. Now, before you hit that launch button and go into Trials, you need to understand a few things. Trials isn't survival. You are punished for dying. If you are someone who spends all their time in survival, then you know if you die, you're gonna spawn back in. In survival, you can eat 2 or 3 lives and still win the match. Trials isn't like that. You have 1 life. You need to treat the game mode as a one and done. If you die, there's no spawning back in until the next round. Lastly, Destiny has some of the most amazing music, especially when moments get heated and you're the last Guardian standing. But hear me out. Lower your game music and increase the volume of your sound effects. This is what I like to call sound whoring. You're going to be able to hear certain sound effects throughout the map. If someone is jumping, you'll hear them activate their jump. If they pull out a sword to 3-peek you, you can hear that. You can hear grenades, you can hear shots fired. The last thing you want is an orchestra playing in your ear and you can't hear the sound effects of the game. Now, when you click that launch button, what do you do next? This might be your first card. This might be game number 7 or 6. Here are a few things you want to keep in mind. This is what I like to call the 200 IQ things to do before a match. Remember that players tend to repeat their most successful routes in engagement. If plan A works for you, do it until it fails, but be ready for an enemy to counter. If they don't, it's an easy win for you. Keep running plan A until it fails. Now, if your enemies are successful in a round, more than likely they're going to repeat the same routine until that fails. Now in Trials, before you load in, communication. Remember to call out everything. Call out any red on your radar. Call out any red on your radar. If I can call out 2 red dots on my radar, then my teammates know that I at least have 2 enemies near me and there's still 1 enemy on the other side of the map or near them, and they can isolate that player. By calling out every red dot on your radar, it's what I like to consider as making your radar your teammate's radar. Now you finally found a match because the player pool is super low. No, I'm just playing. You found a match and you're flying in. What is the next thing you do? You're gonna start inspecting your enemy team from the roster page. And you're probably saying, well, Brave, they're probably not using their full loadouts. That's perfectly fine. Most players just change their kinetic weapons, their shotguns, their snipers, whatever hand cannon they're using, or auto rifle. That's fine. What you're looking at is their stat breakdown. You want to know how quickly that Titan or Hunter or Warlock are going to get their super. Do they have max intellect? Do they have max discipline? Or in general, what stasis grenades are they utilizing? Are they using Cold Snap, or are they using Glacier Wall Fury Shatter Dive combo? Doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, start inspecting your enemies like this, because again, if your enemy is a Chaos Reach Warlock, more than likely they're going to be running max intellect paired alongside some geomax stabilizers to have as many supers as possible. What's the outcome of that scenario? Well, every second that Warlock is alive, it's adding to their super energy, which is going to bite you in the end. Now let's move into the next section, match start. The game mode just started. What do you do? Now, remember that Trials plays slower than Survival, but playing slow isn't bad at all. Players tend to wait for an enemy to overcommit so they can punish them for that and engage. I want you to think of Trials as a game of chess. If you've ever played chess, you can't make a move on the board until your enemy does first. And that's the way Trials is. You're waiting for your enemy to make a move so you can then counter that movement and capitalize on their decision and win that round. Now, your main goal in Trials is to play for a pick. When I mean a pick, you're looking to get a player defeated. You want to take your first enemy out so you can turn that 3v3 into a 3v2 where you have the advantage. Now, say you get an early pick and there's an orb down. 2 things are going to happen. If your enemies are already on top of that orb, they're going to put up their barricades. They're going to try their best to get that revive. Or if the enemy is away from their teammates, they're going to try to do everything to get that orb revive so they can make it a 3v3 again. Which brings me to another big topic. Never leave an orb. When you leave an orb by itself and you walk away to go fight, an enemy can quickly come pick that orb up, revive it, and make it a 3v3, causing you to lose that advantage you just had. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that you never want to get caught out in the open. You never want to overcommit. When you overcommit, you are going to overexpose yourself. Now, what does this do to you? How does this make you a detriment to your team? Well, it's simple as you become a harder revive. I can revive a teammate behind a box easily. I can't revive a teammate that's out in the open because that's going to cause me to take damage or me get eliminated. Now, closing off the match start section, one thing you do want to keep in mind is that when you are engaging an enemy, maybe you're engaging all 3 enemies, maybe you're engaging just, red dots in front of you. Not every person on your team has to look the same way. Remember that the enemy team can always have someone flanking or trailing them, because if every person on your team is focusing in front of them, an enemy can easily come up behind you guys, which is going to cost you the round because they're going to pinch you on that. One of the biggest things in Trials is knowing how to engage. The same thing that applies in quick play applies in Trials. Team shots still win games, but something to keep in mind. Be careful how close you are to your teammates. If you are too close, all it takes is one stasis dust field, one cold snap, and your entire team is eliminated. This is why when you decide to team shot and move as a team, kind of stay spaced apart so you don't get caught in that dust field area. You don't get caught in that cold snap area. Remember, stasis is extremely strong. In Trials, cover is your best friend, and you always want to fight from cover. You get 2 benefits from fighting behind cover. Number 1 is you get to select your engagement. If you take a couple shots, you can always step back into cover and begin your health regeneration. And number 2, if you die and you're behind cover, you can be safely revived by your teammate. Now, when you're engaging in Trials, you always want to call out the target you're fighting or at least try to shoot the same target as your teammate from a different angle. By doing so, you can both put enough damage into one enemy to knock them out immediately, rather than you both fighting separate enemies. The faster you can eliminate one person makes you have the advantage. A 3v2 is always better than a 3v3. A 3v1 is always better than a 3v2. You want to eliminate your enemies as quickly as possible. Now, still on the topic of engaging and team shots, let me tell you something. If you see two guardians and you plan on fighting a 2-on-1, then you deserve to die. You deserve to get eliminated. Because you have to remember, this isn't quick play or survival. Your life matters. Two enemies will always team shot you faster than you can beat both of them. Supers. It's Destiny, guys, and supers are very powerful. They're super. But let's get into some tips on how to utilize your super and the most efficient way to utilize your super, because at the end of the day, supers play a vital role and should be utilized to secure the round. In Trials, before you activate your super, you need to see what supers your enemy have and see if they have any supers that can counter yours. Because if you're gonna pop your Behemoth Titan and the enemy has a Chaos Reach, they can easily eat your super alive. Now, something that my friends ask me all the time when we're playing Trials is, hey man, when should I use my super? Well, it's simple. If it's early into the rounds, maybe you're running max intellect and it's round 3, then it's time to use your super, because if your enemies end up getting a couple wins, by the time it hits the final round, you'll have your super once again. But if you use your super early, that can be the difference of winning that match in 5 rounds. In Trials, you always want to coordinate with your teammates before you activate your super. And there's going to be 2 reasons for that. Number 1 is when you activate your super, more than likely your enemies are going to run away from you. If you coordinate with your teammates, you can have your teammates cut them off, making your enemies decide to either fight your teammates or fight you into super, causing you to ultimately win that round. Now, this is an important one right here. Why is it important to coordinate your super activation with your teammates? Well, it's simple. You don't want to have a double activation. I'm telling you right now, the worst thing, it's bad in my gut right now, guys, is when you activate your Behemoth Titan and next thing you know, your teammate activates their Chaos Reach because you didn't call your super activation, or they didn't call their super activation. So coordinate with your teammates to avoid a double activation. Now, something I have to tell a lot of players not to do. You're the last guardian standing, you're nervous, you're panicking a bit, and you're like, man, I got a super, I can activate my super. You don't always have to activate your super just because you're the last guardian standing. Unless it's the final round and you don't want to take that super to orbit, you can save it for another round. But on that same note, if you're the last guardian standing and you activate your super, it is a great time to make your enemies scatter. As soon as you activate your super, they're gonna run away from you, which can allow you ample time to revive your teammate, because let's be serious here, just because you're in a super doesn't make you invincible. Well, unless you're a Behemoth Titan. But that's beside the point. Now, closing off the section for supers, this one really grinds my gears. Never, and I mean never, take your super to orbit. I make fun of all my teammates, all the teammates I've ever had from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 Trials. If you die and it is the last round and you sat on your super and you took it to orbit, that should be some sort of taboo. And if you're running with an LFG team, that is the quickest way to get kicked from that team. So remember, never take your super to orbit. Now, players think that when you're in the death screen, it's a perfect time to check your phone, maybe order a pizza, maybe search the internet, but no, you are still an asset to your team even when you're in your death screen. If you die and your orb is just there, use that as an opportunity to call out exactly what you see, how many enemies, if they're watching your body, if they're using a certain type of weapon, maybe they're sniping, if they're splitting up, maybe someone's gonna go on the flank. And one of the best ways to do that is rotating your camera and looking around. This is why if you die, try to die in a spot that you can help. But on that same note, you never want to be the person of just cluttering comms. You don't want to call everything if it's not necessary. If it's a 1v1 situation, sometimes the best thing you can do is just give your teammates some confidence and not clutter comms, because they're probably concentrating on their shot, looking at surroundings. So sometimes having a clear comms is perfect. Just be confident and boost your teammates' confidence when it is a 1v1. Now, in Trials, one of the most important things to do is revive. Reviving a teammate can turn a game around. It can turn that round into a win, but also it can lead up to them getting farmed. The last thing you want to do is farm a teammate. When it comes to revives, be careful of snipers or teammates. If you plan on reviving a teammate, be ready to engage the enemy who is watching that orb. Pushing your teammates like Destiny 1 doesn't work anymore. You can't push them. A sniper will always snipe them. If you're going to revive them, use an ability to disrupt your enemy. Throw a grenade at your enemy. Throw a wall, put up a barricade, anything you do to secure that revive. And again, the last thing you want to do is revive a teammate and cause them to die again because you just gave your enemy super energy off of that. Now let's move into the final section of this video. Fighting the final enemy or being the last guardian. Both are very tough situations to be in. If you and your team are fighting one enemy, play the orbs. Never walk away too far from those orbs because that enemy is going to try to revive. Do not overcommit to a solo player. Play for your super energy, and if you decide to engage, do it as a team. A solo player's goal is to always try and separate you from your team, to change it from a 3v1 to 3 1v1s. Now, maybe you're the final player, then you need to be quick on your decision. You either need to try to get 3 1v1s or jump off the map, because the last thing you want to do is make that round last as long as possible so your enemies can get supers so they can win the next round. Now, I do want to end this off with a few things to remember. Stasis is extremely strong and have one-hit kill abilities or freeze abilities that can swing a match almost instantly. If you're frozen, call it out. The enemy might have Whisper of Hedrons and have bonus damage. Also, which is specific to this season, if you die to a high impact hand cannon, there's a possibility that that hand cannon can have Rampage, Swashbuckler, or Kill Clip. Tell your teammate, because the last thing you want them to do is step into a fight against a high impact hand cannon and that bad boy can easily 2-tap them. Overall, if you made it this far in the video, I really do appreciate it, but hear me out. Take each game as a learning experience. It can be stressful, so the last thing you want to do is hate your friends when they mess up. Everyone messes up. But if your goal is to get 3 wins, 5 wins, go flawless, take every match, every round as a learning experience. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It is a longer video than usual, but I love making these videos. I love showing players how to improve. Again, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on all social media platforms, they're going to be down below. So hit that as well too. Click those links. With that, you guys are awesome and go out there and get flawless. It's easy. You guys can do it. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.
Only one enemy is left.
Got him. Good teamwork. They left the wall. They put the wall there and left. One at least left. Hit him a lot. There it is. Good stuff. I got Patty's res.
Your ally is back in the
Yours is
fight.
better.
Good.
Got him.
Guardian down.
Only one enemy is left.
Fully res though. Bodied him.
Your
Get it.
ally is back in the fight.